Gamers continue massive boycott against feminist propaganda in games. So, gamers have continued their massive boycott against feminist propaganda in games. And, guys, this is insane. All of this is just happening rapidly right now. The gaming industry centered around diversity, equity, inclusion is leading to massive collapses, layoffs, losses of hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. This is happening back to back, literally over the last couple of weeks. Today's video comes from Asmon Gold. His channel will be linked in the description of the video. Guys, watch the end of the video to fully understand how this is impacting the gaming industry, how this massive backlash by gamers against feminist propaganda in games and woke culture is going to reshape the gaming industry, affect women, men, and society going forward. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. And again, Aslan Gold's channel, it will be linked in the description, so you go check him out and support him.
Ubisoft stock price dropped today? No, let me see. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, this is terrible. Tepid Star Wars Outlaws reception sinks Ubisoft stock. Star Wars Outlaws may have been reviewed okay enough. Yeah, this is the fucking problem. How is it that the games keep getting reviewed well, but nobody buys them? And so we have right here, Ubisoft shares are now down 13% in the wake of the launch of Star Wars Outlaws, which analysts say have failed to meet target sales. You want to know the real reason why this game isn't successful? The game inside of the core DNA of the game, down to its chromosomal level, was a piece of fucking shit. You can't kill the livestock, but you can pet them? What the fuck is this? Star Wars Outlaws, but you could only steal from the police? Reviewers need to stop giving these games. You need to stop giving these games good reviews when they're bad. If Assassin's Creed Shadows crashes out, I actually think that there's a good chance that Ubisoft could be cooked. Like, if you actually look at the combat here, it's really bad. It is. It's yeah, maybe they're done. I mean, like, can you imagine if you bought this stock in 2021? This stock has gone down worse than most NFTs have.
You know what's pretty amazing, guys? So a lot of these games take years to make, and the games that they've been making have all been centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So to turn around at this stage right now and to try and release these games in the state that they're in, like, to try to go back and say, okay, well, we're going to try to retool these games, it's not going to happen. If the very core of the game was built around diversity, equity, inclusion, woke culture, feminist propaganda, then it's very hard to remove that from the game, because the character designs are already set in stone. The character narrative is already set in stone. The voices have already been recorded. The script was already written. It's too far along. It's within the very DNA of the game, woke themes and so forth. Like, look at Star Wars Outlaws. You can no longer kill the animals in the game, the monsters in the game, but you can pet them, and you can steal in the game, but you can't steal from anyone except for the police. So you can rob. So it's okay to rob members of law enforcement, but just don't mess with your neighbor. It's very intriguing. And then on top of that, like, a lot of the mechanics are absolute garbage. The character models are disgusting. You basically have woke propaganda everywhere. You're playing as someone that it's just not very visually appealing. Because if you're going to play a video game for a long period of time, you're going to want to look at visually appealing people. And if the character models are repulsive, okay, then why are you going to want to play this game for a long period of time? And then you're stripping away the things that made the game even lots of fun. I can't wait until the next GTA comes out. I cannot wait to see all of the woke garbage in there. Where, for example, you're not able to control alt delete certain groups of people, because that would be that's a hate crime right there. So that can't be tolerated in games. And in fact, I mean, at one point, GTA was described as a control alt deletion simulator, but of course, certain people you can't delete. I mean, and this is something that's been happening with GTA for a while now. For example, why is it that they don't want you to kill animals in the game, right? It's okay for humans, but they're afraid that they'll piss off PETA if you don't control alt delete animals, even though PETA advocates for control alt deleting certain animals. It's all about power and control. 100%. And of course, guys, now you'll have the woke mob coming after us, because it's not going to just end right there. I got an email from one of my subscribers. I didn't provide his name, so you're not going to know who he is. But I figured it would be all right to discuss what he said here, because it really aligns with all of this. So, guys, you already know that Concord is a game that came out. It flopped terribly. It cost potentially $200 million to actually distribute from Sony, and the game only ended up having 25,000 sales. And the game was out for like 3 days, 4 days, and Sony's already pulled the game, said that everyone will be getting a refund, and supposedly the games that they did ship millions of copies, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies. Again, this is a very expensive game. This is a AAA title. It was supposed to be that it was developed. It evidently took somewhere like 6 to 8 years to develop. They're going to basically have to dump all of those copies, probably in a landfill, like landfill style, where they dumped all those old ET games. Like, if you guys don't know the history, there were a bunch of terrible ET games made in like the 90s or late 80s, and they basically took them to a landfill and dumped all of them in a landfill. It's crazy. It's insane stuff. And what's going to happen to all of these copies of Concord? Probably something similar. Probably something very, very similar. But yeah, that's just the sad and psychotic reality of our world right now. But yes, I got this email. Kind of illustrates what's going on here. I think that we can talk about this. He said, "Hey, Angry, I disagree with what has been said about Concord. I think there will be a huge backlash against gamers and men. Allow me to explain. This will be viewed as a massive wave of misogynistic behavior. It will also be labeled as financial terrorism, because corporations have already petitioned governments to label boycotting as financial terrorism. All gamers will now be monitored." He's not wrong, guys. Men are actually being monitored just for the games that they play by the FBI. Physical copies of games will no longer be available in the next couple of years. He's 100% right here. Everything will be streamed and monitored. And in order to play games, you will have to agree to have your gaming and communications monitored, or you cannot play the game online. Guys, it's not only going to be a matter of playing the game online, it's going to be playing the game entirely. For example, that's where Microsoft is going to operate, where you're going to have to agree to be monitored if you want to even play your game. Even games that you download will still require an internet connection. He says, "Trust me, I've been researching and monitoring the things people refer to as conspiracy theories for 39 years. These evil people will pivot and create ways to ensure nothing is private. Privacy will soon be considered akin to terrorism." Guys, look at what's happened over in France right now, where one of the creators of Telegram, is now locked up in prison and facing 10 years in prison, not because of anything he did, but because France is saying that his company did not properly do enough to monitor the platform and allowed encryption on the platform, which was used by criminals. And so they're basically charging him for the platform not doing enough to adhere to the rules or demands of the French government. And he's now facing 10 years in prison. And he's a French citizen. This is crazy stuff. He's a French citizen, and he's a citizen of the UAE, United Arab Empire. And by the way, he's a good friend, evidently, with one of the princes over there. And they canceled like a $20 billion order with France. They're pissed off. So the kingdom is pissed off about it. Russia is actually very pissed off about the situation as well, but he's no longer a Russian citizen, to my understanding. So there's not much they can actually do. This is really a test run for Elon, because they want to go and snap up Elon. Look at in Brazil, Twitter has now been banned in Brazil because Elon refused to comply with Brazil's draconian demand that he has to appoint a legal representative in the country. So it's now banned there, and anyone who uses it can face something like a $5,000 a day fine. Some total madness. It's tyranny, guys. They don't want us to have freedom anymore. They want us to be under 24-hour surveillance. Yeah. So he says disagreement and dissent with wokeism and liberalism will not be tolerated. You will be labeled as an enemy of the state as well as an enemy to humanity. I shudder to think about the penalties for these accusations. This is going to force them to advance their agenda. This will also advance the timeline for CBDC. Things are about to get really bumpy, and I agree. I agree so much. I agree so much with what he's saying here. Because you can already see, guys, we are actually being monitored for the YouTube videos that we watch. So, for example, the feds are demanding, records from YouTube based on the videos that certain people watch, and courts are issuing these orders. And if you watch certain videos, Google will now give over your information to the federal government, your phone, your name, your phone number, your presumably all of the emails you have in your account. They'll hand everything over, all of your private communications and your watch history, everything you've watched, you search for online. They will give it over to the United States government, and they will sit on it, and they can now use it as blackmail against you as well. This is 100% 1984 draconian stuff. It is. Nothing is private anymore. Everything is monitored. And of course, women are at the center of it, celebrating it, saying that we have to do this to fight misogyny and so forth. Guys, look at the UK. If you're a boy or a man, you can now by law you now have to be reported if you are even viewed as susceptible to extreme misogyny. So teachers will now be required to report their students in the UK if they're even deemed as susceptible to extreme misogyny, basically influence of the manosphere, to the Department of Terrorism. And these children, little boys, can now be apprehended, taken into custody. Their human rights are stripped away from them. They are now treated as enemies of the state, and they are lucky if they ever see daylight ever again. And basically, that's how it works. And and that's it. And you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do or what to say. They'll put words into your mouth. Guys, you're as adults, we barely know how to handle police officers because they are trained to get us to admit to things, to act like, act like they are a friend, and they're just gathering information. All right, they know exactly what they're doing, so they can use it against you and prosecute you. They don't care about your constitutional rights. They don't care about you as a person. They don't like you. These people absolutely hate you. They're disgusted with you because they are enforcers, and their job is to enforce the policies of the state, not the Constitution. The Constitution is not the policy of the state. All right, the Constitution, if anything, is just it's a list of privileges that can be taken away at any given moment. All right, the courts hate the Constitution. They absolutely hate the Constitution, and they've been fighting for years and spending decades amending the Constitution as much as they can to strip us of any civil liberties that we have. It's a sick reality, but it's a reality that we live in, and we have to be very aware of. There's a quote that I like to go back to, and it's a very, very good quote, and it comes from George Orwell from the book 1984. And it goes, "It was always the women, and above all the young ones, who were the most bigoted adherents of the party, the swallowers of slogans, the amateur spies." 1984, George Orwell. This is a book that came out in 1949, 75 years ago. And George Orwell predicted all of it. He predicted every single bit of it. I have people popping up on my comments saying that George Orwell, he was able to know these things because he was a Freemason. I see there's theorists online saying that George Orwell himself was a communist. They're trying every way to discredit him. You have to understand that the left is so far gone that right now, the left is actually what the ACP, just like how you have the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party. The left is actually the ACP, the American Communist Party, the American Communist Party masquerading as a party of democracy. They are not a party of democracy. They are a party of communism, Marxism, totalitarianism. That is what they are actually about. Okay? Because if you are not today, if you are not far left, you are on the right. And the way that the boomers operate is they could care less. This is everything. This is the legacy of the boomers. It's about me, 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 me. Give me what I want, or else I will take it from you. Okay? I will take it from you, and I will take your breath away if I have to get it. This is the notion. This is the legacy of these people. And they'll pop up in the comments and say things along the lines of, it's not all of us, don't blame us, or don't blame me, and we didn't do anything, and blah, and they'll come with a lot of BS. And if you call them out on it, sometimes they can't even argue with you. As soon as you basically you just present evidence to them, they'll basically say, yeah, I can't argue with you on that. Yeah, have a good day, man. Peace out, man. Guys, these are a bunch of pothead hippies. Have you ever really had a conversation with a boomer? Bro, they turn into pothead hippies just like this. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, the weed just comes out. All that weed that they smoked back in the 60s and the 70s, and other stuff that they were using. They were the first pill popping generation. Boy, oh boy, did they love their quaaludes. These people, they become, guys, the hippie comes out of them so quickly. Even the ones who did not, do the poofy hair stuff, they were all hippies. All the boomers were hippies. Even if they weren't dressing like hippies, they were a bunch of hippies. They had the same toxic ideologies. They were all a bunch of socialists. And let's be realistic, they were Marxists. They were Marxists masquerading as communists, masquerading as socialists, and calling it kindness, wrapped in a bow. This is who these people are. This is what these people have done. All right. These are the same people that are saying that Gen Z will need to pay for their futures, and they're going to have to raise taxes, and Gen Z is just going to have to come up with that money. They're literally saying that right now, that Gen Z is going to have to, because the millennials are so tapped out. The millennials are completely tapped out. They're aware the millennials are tapped out. There's no more money. All right. They cannot squeeze any more money out of the millennials at this point. Most millennials are living hand to mouth right now. A lot of Gen Xers are living hand to mouth right now. So they cannot squeeze anything. There's nothing to squeeze. There's nothing left to squeeze out of them, because America's living on credit right now. Most Americans are living on credit. There's nothing left to squeeze out. All right. The balance sheet for most Americans is in the negative. It's in the red now, and far into the red right now. And they're saying that, okay, well, we need to squeeze Gen Z now. They're gonna, because it's a new generation of people, and we can use them and run the credit card up on them. They're just gonna have to pay these taxes, and we're just gonna find ways to get our money out of them. Gen Z is dropping out of society. Gen Z is running away. Gen Z is basically like the boomers as well. The center of their lives is money, and they think they're going to do. The boomers think they're going to do to Gen Z what they did to Gen X and the millennials. Like, my gosh, I've already said this already, that when it comes to Gen Alpha, many, if not most Gen Alphas, will never work a normal job a day in their life. Outside of some maybe DoorDash work, many of them will never work a normal job a day in their lives, if even a job whatsoever, even a job whatsoever, in the sense that they do a task and get paid for it. Okay? A lot of them are going to basically live off their parents or live off the state, period. That's why I said that Gen Alpha will be a large prison population. You can already see that most of them have extraordinary behavioral issues. They cannot control their emotions. They have extremely short attention spans, similar to Gen Z, maybe even worse. And while Gen Z can barely read the bad muffins, Gen Alpha cannot read at all. They cannot read at all. They cannot do math at all. While Gen Z is struggling to pronounce words, Gen Alpha just gives the hell up and says, we're not about that life. We're not about that reading life, okay? We're about those streets. That's what Gen Alpha is about. Gen Alpha is about those streets. They are not a good generation. They are a very dishonest, nasty group of little people. They're very violent. You have them attack from the United States all the way to South Korea. You have videos of these little jerks attacking people, attacking their parents, specifically attacking their teachers, throwing fits at school, getting destructive. The police have to be called. They're being placed into handcuffs. They should really just take them away and keep them, because we don't own our children. The state owns our children. So the state should just come and take them and bring them and just take them away and do what they have to do with them. Don't forget, guys, the state has the legal right to dispose of anyone that they choose to. Never forget that. The state has the legal right to dispose of anyone that they choose to. It's literally a fight for survival. We are not free. We are all slaves of the state. Men are slaves of the state. We are property of the state. We are slaves without chains. Just because we can leave doesn't mean that we are free. Never ever forget that. Some of y'all like, oh, I'm no slave. I can go wherever I want. You're not free. You are not free. They can call you back at any time. A lot of y'all are hiding out overseas, thinking that they can't send you back to America or Australia, okay, or Canada or United Kingdom, all right? Or you're gonna fight, bro. It's not that hard, all right? Restrict, guys. Let me explain how easy it is for them to do this. They restrict access to your bank accounts. They control the SWIFT system. They basically make it almost impossible for you to use credit anywhere. Some of y'all are like, well, I live off cryptocurrency. Yeah, I understand, but you can't use crypto for everything. Don't get me wrong. I have a course that'll teach you how to live, how to decentralize yourself using cryptocurrency. But when they want you, if they want you, they will make it extremely difficult on you. Are there ways to live entirely off cryptocurrency? Absolutely. In the United States, 100%. 100% you can live entirely off crypto in the United States, based on, just based on your ability to because you have to use the currency, because there's a lot of communities where you basically can go online and you can cash out crypto. So for example, you can find a person in your neighborhood, in your local vicinity, who will basically convert your cryptocurrency, convert your Bitcoin to cash for you. So yeah, there are tons of ways to do this. All right, to live entirely off the grid using crypto. But you need to understand is that that's a hard life. That's a very, very hard life. And you basically become a vagabond, and it's gonna be really, really hard on you. You have to be very, very aware of this, guys. For a lot of women are going to find themselves in extraordinary amounts of hardship in the coming years, because men are not going to be there to subsidize their living anymore. Men will not subsidize their living anymore, and that's going to put women in an extraordinary, difficult financial state. Okay, because many women are going to end up in poverty, living in the streets, shelters, homeless, in the woods. It's going to be a nightmare out there. It's going to be a 100% nightmare out there, and men are not going to come to the rescue, and they're going to call it financial terrorism. I agree with this guy 100%. They are going to call it financial terrorism. That men are no longer providing for women. Men are no longer subsidizing the lives of women, just like they did in the Roman Empire before it fell, where the emperor said that unmarried men are worse than all of the criminals in the Roman Empire, and eventually the men stopped producing, men stopped protecting the empire, and the entire empire was being operated on slave labor, which is ridiculous. And men refuse to protect the empire, so the empire starts using barbarians to protect the empire from barbarians, and then eventually the barbarians realize that the emperor has no clothes, because the emperor is trying to pay them in land, and the barbarians are like, what are we going to do with this land? And he's like, oh, you could build stuff on it. And they basically call the emperor's bluff, realize the emperor has no money, and they pillage the empire, and we're plunged into 1,000 years of darkness. And there's some idiots who are like, oh, angry, that's not true. The Dark Ages never actually happened. Only part of the Roman Empire fell. The other part survived, and they thrived. The Dark Ages are a complete and utter lie. Okay? We thrived. Guys, we almost got wiped out during the Dark Ages. All right? Y'all remember the bubonic plague? That's no joke. Okay? The church ruled over humanity for 1,000 years, keeping technology, reading, literacy, and math, science to themselves, okay, until it was reintroduced 1,000 years later, and then we emerged from the Dark Ages. Y'all have to understand, it hasn't even been that long. It has not even been that long. This is the legacy of modern women. Basically, when men walked away, all of the riches of the empire, all of the money and wealth of the empire was used to subsidize the living of women. As they ran off with Chad and Tyrone, they ran off with gladiators, divorced their husbands, in some cases deleted their husbands so they can be with their gladiators. And they used no fault divorce to do this. When the empire was beginning to really crumble, no fault divorce was actually banned later on. Okay, it was banned. They banned, but it was too late by then. And men were punished in the sense that they were restricted from going to the Coliseum. They were restricted from going to public events. They were punished by being forced to run in the wintertime, chain gang style. If they for not marrying, they were shamed heavily in society, and they still would not get married because I told you, a man without love for family or love for country will fight for neither. And that's what ended up happening. There's a content creator whom I do not like, and I will not say his name, but there's a very good point. There's a very good point that was made, and it's like, and I'm not advocating for any of it. I am absolutely not advocating for this perspective. But if you look at what ends up happening with civilizations that have been destroyed as a result of women saying that, hey, we want empowerment, and then basically men turned into second class citizens, and then men basically walk away. Here's the comment, and it basically says, as this individual who I shall not speak of says, you either take their rights away or be replaced by a culture / people who do. That's basically what ended up happening with Europe. We were plunged into a century of darkness by barbarians. Women basically lost all of their rights, and that was it. Guys, it was nightmare. To be very honest with you, humanity may have never survived, or the human beings who did survive, they would still be like living in caves and huts today. The only other humans on the planet were likely those in the United States. So the Native Americans and the people who are in across the United States and Mexico and what's now Mexico and these places, other regions of the world, and they were isolated away from the rest of the world. Thank God. But I mean, they were not going to make any major progress, and in terms, they were probably not going to have the societies that we have today. Okay, it was like they would still be living today the way that they are living now, more than likely. And all of this is the result of basically when society is taken over and we end up with a matriarchy, and the matriarchy begins imposing its will and its demands on men. You have to remember that when we go back to the suffragettes were considered terrorists. They were thrown in prison, and the view of them was absolutely horrible in Western society. They were prisoners. They were considered terrorists. What ended up happening was you had a bunch of simps who felt sorry for them, and eventually, and they would go to the prisons and they would look at these women in prison, and they would be in just horrible condition. They would be filthy, covered in their own filth in these prisons, and the simps were like, fine, you know what, let's just give them the right to vote. We can't stand to see these women suffer anymore. Not because they were right, but just because they could not stand to see them suffer. Even though when it comes to men, if you have a bunch of terrorists who are men, you're going to leave them in there and you'll even say, good, let them suffer. This is the difference. How do we end up with prohibition? Prohibition was 100% caused by women. Women basically said that the bars were leading to men becoming the bars and alcohol were leading to men becoming problematic in society, and they said that, and violent towards their wives, and that alcohol was a danger to women and their well-being. And they fought for prohibition, and they had prohibition laws passed that banned alcohol. It was all women. That's how we ended up with prohibition in the United States. And then how did prohibition come to an end? Because women wanted to drink again. Women wanted to drink, and basically they could not force the state to basically have two sets of laws where basically women were allowed to drink, but men weren't. So they then They then demanded that prohibition be recalled, and that's how prohibition was ended. So women are the cause of prohibition, and they are the cause of it coming to an end, because they put such draconian restrictions into place that they themselves could no longer stand living under them, because they wanted to get drunk, and then they demanded that those laws be repealed. And women have a way of getting what they want by nagging, and making constant demands and screeching and hollering until some men basically cave. Again, the simps are responsible for all of this, because the suffragettes were thrown, back in those days, they just threw these people in prison. They called them terrorists and they threw them in prison. But the simps were like, you can't do that to them. Look how they're suffering. Look how they're doing. They don't give a. They could give a less of a rat's behind about if it was men. They'd say, good, leave them there. They wouldn't even go check them out. But because it was women, oh, just give them what they want. It's about kindness. It's about love and kindness. The nastiest, meanest, most evil people on the earth were given exactly what they want on their love and kindness. How did the Roman Empire fall? The Roman Empire fell. A large portion of it was because of love and kindness. There was a message of love and kindness. And because of love and kindness, they also shut out a bunch of other ideas. All of this, where did the love and kindness come from? It came from women. It's about love and kindness. Guys, do you know what they call socialism? Love. This is what the socialists call. The socialists call socialism kindness. These McDonald's employees that are now getting $20 an hour and demanding $30, what do they do it under the guise of kindness? This is how you destroy a country. This is how you destroy a nation. In the name of kindness. In the name of kindness. As soon as you hear the word kindness, you should run for the hills, y'all. You should run for the hills. Because there's nothing kind about what these people ultimately end up doing. Nothing kind at all. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to the Angry Guy Clubhouse on Substacks. You can dive into our podcast, Gen X Stories, and more. You also get you'll also get our free digital nomad blueprint. And this is all linked in the description. I release articles on there. They're blog posts, but they're actually articles every single day. I just kind of talk about what interests me. I share topics that we talk about here on this platform. We have a good time over there. You guys can comment. You don't have to worry about your comments being censored. Go and sign up for Substacks. It's completely free, guys. It's free. You get free access over there. Like I said, you're going to love it. And you don't have to worry about the constant stress of what's going to happen here. I feel I could, like, when I'm over on Substacks, guys, it's my spot. I control it. I own my audience. I love it. I can reach out to you guys directly. You guys can reach out to me. You can send me a message. Oh my gosh. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a breath of fresh air. And you should also see something pop up on the screen, which will also allow you to go over there directly. Since I've created it and been promoting it here, you guys have been hitting me up. You guys have been going over there, finding other communities, connected with other. You've got Passport Kings over there. You have communities of Passport Kings. So if you join my community, I'm also connected to other communities that are part of the Passport Kings of the Greater Manosphere. Oh my goodness, guys! It's like I said, it's a breath of fresh air. I have exclusive videos. I have extended videos available. So, for example, there's some of the videos that we do here on YouTube, and we have extended versions of them over there. And I basically tell you in the videos also, like if you go there, you're like, oh, if you watch this video on YouTube, then this is you can jump in right here at 20 minutes in or 15 minutes in, and and basically you'll have like 10, 20 minutes more of the video. So it's really great. It offers a great value. And you guys also don't have that stress, because this is a stressful platform to be on. It's a really, really stressful platform to be on. So it's just great. It's just being able to chill. For those of you that like to read, oh gosh, get over there, go and check that out. But guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Gamers continue massive boycott against feminist propaganda in games. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA Men walking away, and cheers.